What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 11 of podcast. Going to be joined today with Alex, Talentek by Hubtek to discuss nearshoring solutions in the logistics space. Let's get it going. How's it going, Alex?
Hey Alex, how are you?
Thanks for joining me on such short notice. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to get into how did you get into logistics since that's always the starting question. I'm interested to hear this one with you.
Yeah. So I was actually in a totally different industry. I was in hospitality for a while, and I had a customer come into one of the restaurants I was managing, and he would come in earlier sometimes during lunch, and he'd be taking meetings, and it would just be like so go go go, and like he would get angry, and he would and it was just all the emotions were there, and sometimes it was just my staff, me, and my customer in the restaurant. He's Greg Ackner from Capital Logistics, and he I would be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what do you like? What job do you have?
Yeah, how are you going through a full range of emotions, in 5 minutes?
Yeah, like while eating like a salad. I'm like, is this so
Yeah, that
normal?
was actually my next question. Did he order food or is this just alcohol lunches?
It was alcohol lunches, it was liquid lunch, but it was also food as well. And so yeah, we became like very good friends, and he would take some meetings from there and be working from there. And then I asked him, I said, like, I need help, like I want to get out of hospitality, because hospitality is like very demanding, and just you're just constantly working, you constantly have to physically be there, and it was just getting a lot for me. And he was like, I know the perfect company for you, and put me in contact with Talentek, and they're amazing. Like, between the culture, like what we do, and just like my team, everything was how they even onboarded me. Like, they were just like immediately, they basically were like, yeah, you like come work for us, like this will be great. And then they were having their strategy session in Medellin, Colombia the next week, so then they were like, just come to Colombia and trade. And I'm like, oh my god, that's
Yeah,
so
this is the best logistics stories. Like you see some guy going through every range of emotion in some type of a bar or restaurant, and then he's like, "Hey, like come work in logistics so you can go through all these emotions, and then also go to Colombia next week to start your logistics career."
yeah, it was awesome. It was really
Yeah.
cool. But I couldn't have asked for a different story, a better story.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great one. I actually love that one. The only one that I had that was similar to this one was when I asked him how he got into logistics, and the summary that he said in one sentence was, "Well, I was drunk at a bar." And I was, yeah, this is like sort of a similar one. So I think
That's
restaurants and bars are like the meeting place for logistics. It always goes that way.
I think so. I learned that so my first conference was Manifest in Las Vegas, which was a very interesting
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
and then TIA as well. So lots of bars
So
and
logistics just kind of bringing you around the world. You're just kind
yeah,
of floating around,
yeah.
just enjoying it. But I mean, let's get into what is Hubtek and what is Talentek, and can you kind of break down the two companies and sort of what you guys are doing there?
Yeah, so we originally started as Hubtek. Our 6-year anniversary is coming up soon. But even though we're a young company, our um, CEOs and managing directors, they have a lot of experience in logistics, and they're very well versed in even people and how logistics work. So I don't like to say it's just that we're just a young company, but we have a lot of background there. But so Hubtek is Talentek's parent company. Hubtek was basically the parent company to Tabby Connect, Talentek, and what's now is still Talentek, but was Profit Quest, which is like training and coaching. So Talentek specifically, we do nearshore labor solutions, but we're more so of like labor consultants. Like we'll be there to go in and help you, and exactly pinpoint like what your pain points are. Like, hey, you have this problem, like let's get your labor costs down. Like, we're not just trying to like fill up your whole company with bodies and everything to be in Latin
Yeah,
America.
not just throwing the kitchen sink at people. Let's kinda have a discussion. Let me find out where you guys are kind of falling behind, what you guys need, what roles.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a more focused approach because, I mean, I've gone through a couple of these interviews with, these types of companies, and they're like, "Oh, just throw in the kitchen sink." Like, "Hey, you need people? We have people." It's like, I feel
Yeah.
like you should take a little bit more targeted approach in this type of industry.
And specific to like logistics is our Profit Quest company, which that's one of what was our line of business, which is now Talentek as well. We're very specific in the coaching and training. So every person that we're hiring or placing into a company goes through training modules that are specific to their position. We'll teach them all the basics of logistics.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually a question I had written down somewhere up here was, do you guys actually train people for logistics roles? And I mean, yeah, you do, so that's cool because I mean, you can't train them obviously exactly how the company they're going to would operate, but just having them understand, basic terminology and just basic concepts in logistics is definitely like a strength.
Yeah. So they're not going into, your company. Like, I mean, different companies will ask for different like levels of experience, but they're not going into, if it's a junior level, they're not going into your company. Like,
Yeah, I hope they're not coming in and like, what's a POD? You
yeah,
know? So,
exactly.
that kind of segues me into another question
Yeah.
for later I had written down. So do you guys provide office space for all of these workers in all of these outsourcing countries, nearshoring countries, or are they fully independent remote workers?
No, so we do have our office spaces in each city that we say that we're in. So we're in like three different cities in Colombia. We have Ecuador, Mexico, South Africa, Philippines. So each of those places do have an office, like a physical office space. Whether or not one of our clients wants them to be working from that office space, that's up to you. But yeah, we do have like our office. We do have.
Yeah, I mean, because that's like something I've always thought about in my head about these companies because I mean, it's hard to kind of manage and regulate employees, if they're fully at their house in a different country. I kind of like the idea that, there's an office for your guys' employees, and then you guys can kind of check in to see how they're doing and, make sure they're showing up every day on time. And I mean, it helps that you guys are kind of managing the headcount for your customers a little bit. So it's not falling onto them to be like texting some employee in Colombia, like, "Hey, are you at work
Yeah,
yet?"
yeah. And it's an interesting thing because like some people will, say like, well, they're already in a different country, so why do I care if, they're remote or they're working from home, they're working from their office, and then there's the other side of that spectrum that's they want them to be in that office and they want them. And it's cool because you can come visit your workers all together and go into your satellite office and go into
Yeah,
now your
I
new
mean, 'cause
office
that's
in
the
Colombia.
thing, like, I've had these topics with a lot of people where I'm like, "Hey, I can get you a lot of workers, in my country, to work for you, but, like, realistically, if you wanna open an office, then we have to go get the office, open the office, get the internet." Like, it's a lot of, like, little things that go into getting an office, renting a space, then you
Mm,
gotta find the internet, and that's a commitment in itself because if you're committing to building an office, now you have to commit to all those employees and just the cost of operating that office,
yeah.
which again kind of segues us into something. So I watched a little bit of a different interview you did, and you guys were talking about sort of how you're not a monthly salary type of like situation. Like you can kind of pay the employees as you go sort of model, if I'm not wrong.
So we do have our like nearshore, like normal monthly employee, which your employee gets a salary and that's paid monthly, and then we have the fees that go into that, whether it's an office space or extra benefits. So we do have that model. The new thing, the new program that we just came out with is our transactional model, which is called Flex, and I just think it's super cool because it fully adapts to volume. And just a transactional, method of going about track and trace. And it's so basically like one load is one transaction, and whether that load takes like 1 day or 2 days, like we still count it as one transaction. So it's adaptable to volume, which is like critical. I mean crucial, sorry. And in like this market, because your volume could like jump up a lot, like in like exponentially, and now you're looking and scattering to find a new, like, more workers, I need coverage. And then but with like this flex model is we just can see that coming, and like we will add people to your talent pool. That also
Yeah.
comes with like these overnight, like kind of more intense shifts, which is like those overnight, after hours, weekends, and all of that. It's really interesting because you'll always get coverage. So like even with a nearshored person, like that's still a person at the end of the day. They might get sick, they might have a family emergency, they might have that or whatever. Like they're not like robots. And like with flex is like there's a bunch of different people trained to do that exact process, so there's always going to be someone there for you.
Yeah, and I mean, in this market, you really touched on it. Like, I've had companies kind of approach me and some people I'm close with and be like, "Hey, we need a dispatcher for like a week or two. Like, like we have some extra trucks kicking around, or we have a dispatcher who's sick, but we don't want to commit to hiring a dispatcher for a month or like for a salary position."
Mhm.
And I think there's a company out there that's developing this sort of pay as you go dispatch service where, if you need a dispatcher for a day or 5 days or 10 days or just to book you one load for one truck that day. And I think that's like a really cool system in this market, like specifically because like you said, volume can be 100 loads for a broker one day and it could be five the next day and then 100 and then five. And it's just so up and down, and having the ability to say, hey, I need a pair of hands for a couple days or a couple loads, and being able to have some, like, it's the name is there, it's literally flexibility. Like, it's just
Yeah.
having flex workers, you can just kind of hire as you need and they're already trained to do. So that leads me into this. What are kind of your guys' strong suits in like logistics? Like what roles would you guys say you excel at filling and are kind of filling the most?
So definitely like our back office and like operations roles. We do train for everything though. Like again with our training modules and our coaching lessons, that is also something that we do provide. Like we can train really any person to do any specific role, and that also leads me into like we're expanding to new industries, which is like a very exciting thing because again, like we have this background of coaching and training. So like really, if a company needs a carrier sales, a customer sales, like we're there to train them as well. Again, we need the company there to train them. Like it takes two to tango. You know what I mean? Like
Of
it's
course. I mean, yeah, you guys can train, and that's the whole thing in logistics because, every company is different. I mean, I've worked in four, five, six companies, and the job is like technically the same, but the day-to-day details and how people do things is always going to be different. And like you said, I mean, you guys can train an employee to be the best, carrier sales rep, and then they can get dropped into a company that just does things very differently. And then it's going to look like they weren't trained at all, but in reality, I mean, you guys did your best. So it definitely takes the employer and you guys together to kind of offer them that type of training in those
yeah,
roles.
and it's even like the nature of the company as well. You need to like explain to them like this is how we are as a company, and this is how we do things, and it's just like you companies really need to, like, our clients really need to like go in it with like an open kind of mindset of like, okay, this is still an employee, even though they're trained, like they're still an employee, like they're still our new employee, so we really need to get them comfortable in
Yeah, I mean, what would you guys say are the top benefits of nearshoring, offshoring employees? I mean, obviously the number one answer is always going to be cost reduction, but I mean, do you guys kind of have you have some testimonials. What are people saying that they're enjoying about this offshoring, nearshoring thing, besides obviously the elephant in the room of cost reduction?
yeah, that is definitely the elephant in the room. But besides that, like, just having that bilingual, employee that maybe some companies need and are lacking. Having a Spanish speaking employee is a huge benefit, especially with like the market kind of changing into like with Mexico being such a big influence in the US logistics market. That's definitely one of them. Another one is just the work ethic in these Latin American countries is really like such a strong part of nearshoring. It's they're extremely grateful to be working, especially to be working like a computer like position, and be like if they are in like a sales role, which is like a slightly commission based, they're so hungry, and they're so there to say like I really, they're like proud to be working for your
Yeah.
company. I actually, when I was at TIA, I met um one of our clients, and he was like, I call these guys just because they make me happy. Like sometimes, like he's like, I'll be having like an awful day, and like he's like, they're so positive, they're so like
Yeah.
amazing, that he's like, sometimes like I like them more than my own like US staff, which I thought was hilarious. But yeah, I
Yeah, you
think
got like emotional support track and trace team.
yeah, yeah, but they're really great workers, and they're there to work, which
Yeah, I
is
think
getting.
that's actually like such a good explanation from you on nearshoring and the benefits because obviously we're going to go number one, cost reduction. Obviously, that's a huge benefit. But then you're right, number two, being bilingual and being able to hire, I mean, Spanish speaking people, which is like a very, very dominant language in logistics. And if you can bring Spanish speaking people to the table, I mean, that'll streamline a lot of interactions with drivers that maybe can't speak fantastic English, or even sometimes there's even shippers where they're speaking Spanish over there, and an English speaking driver can't even talk to the shipper. So I mean,
Yeah,
there's definitely being bilingual is a huge, huge advantage in logistics. And I mean, I think like you said, the work ethic thing, because I mean, I'm in one of these type of countries that gets outsourced to, and like you said, people are like really proud to have these jobs. And if you put someone in America in a entry level logistics position, and you put somebody in one of these countries in the same position and paying them slightly above their national average salary, they're gonna work as hard as possible. They're gonna outwork almost every person you put in that chair in America because, like you said, they're proud and they're hungry and they're happy to have a better chance at life for them and their families. And
yeah,
I think that kind of work ethic and grit you can't really teach and you can't really come across. They were just, I mean, people are hungry. They need the money, they need the job, and they're going to perform, much, much with much more intensity than somebody who's just kind of looking at it like, oh, I have an entry level position. I'm getting paid, minimum wage. And I
yeah,
think they're definitely bringing a lot more intensity to the work environment. That's for sure.
absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, so what countries are you guys pulling talent from? I know you just said most of them, but
So we're in Colombia. We're in various cities in Colombia. We're in Ecuador, Mexico, newly Philippines, and not that new, but also South Africa in
okay,
Johannesburg.
that's cool. I mean, can you guys acquire talent for any shift in the U.S. market, like day shift, night shift, any times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a market for that. There's there are people that are willing to work nighttime, and there's but that's also why we opened up these offices in South Africa, in the Philippines. If there's a really like high demand in that like third shift, in that night shift, but even in Latin America, there's people that are willing to do that, again, like, but that's why Flex is here, to give you that opportunity to fully give you coverage in that night shift, and it's not just specifically targeted to the night shift at all. We could do 24/7 coverage throughout the week, but definitely for the night shift, because again, it's going to be harder, and it's the same issues in the US, is like it's still a night shift. People still kind of don't like doing it, no matter like if if like they're going into it knowing that they're going to be in the night shift. But Flex really like gives you the opportunity to just always have that kind of coverage. Night, daytime doesn't really matter.
I mean, I think that's actually a funny sentence because so I've had friends that needed to do the night shift like in Serbia on our local time. Let's say like between midnight and 6 in the morning,
Mhm.
Serbian local time. And they're like so mad about it. Like, I hate working the night shift. Like it's
Yeah.
still a night shift. It doesn't matter where in the world you are. Like that night shift is still a night shift and people still don't want to do it. But
Yeah,
I think if you look at hiring like domestically within the United States for a night shift position, you're gonna have to pay a lot more money because people don't want to do that. Like they really don't want to do
absolutely,
that.
absolutely.
And
I
I
mean,
feel like in these,
it's a tough
yeah, go
shift.
ahead. Yeah, it sucks. I mean, I used to work in a factory from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. I hated that. Like just
Yeah.
being awake at 3 in the morning at a factory. I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, this is like not where I want to be right now. So,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have those kind of hours, but when I was back in hospitality, I was working until 3, 4 a.m. some nights. And like I was like doing that, like I like knew what I was getting myself into, and it was still something that I was just like, like
yeah, people
why?
ask me all the time. They're like, "Oh, how do you work like the local time for you?" Which like for me, it's 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. Sometimes to like midnight or 1.
Yeah,
And I love it because I have my mornings to myself, so I can do whatever I want in the morning. And
yeah,
then at 2 p.m. I start work, and by like 10, 11, 12, I'm done. And then I have a couple more hours to like chill and do what I want. And I don't like waking up I'm not a morning person. Like I don't want to wake up at 7 in the morning and go straight to work. Like, it's depressing to me. Like I want to wake up how I want and like walk around a little bit, have a coffee. So
yeah.
I hate it in the morning.
Oh, that's funny.
I feel like night shift and weekend shifts is something you guys are probably heavily covering because
Yeah,
that's
with
like the easy.
absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
like the easier shift in logistics because most of the problems have already been solved. And by the time 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Central rolls around, there's not like much to do besides track stuff. And, I mean,
Yeah,
it definitely less intensity work at that point.
yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely for flex, it's like the perfect thing. We also do have a lot of people doing the night shift and the weekend shifts that are near short that are like a fixed hourly cost or like I mean, I say hourly, but it's really monthly, but you can break it down like hourly from there, but like a monthly cost doing the night shift as well. It's just flex happens to be like you're given that coverage and you're guaranteed almost like basically guaranteed the coverage.
So basically, like with Flex, if I hire you guys to track, like let's say 10 loads, if somebody on your team on that team is like not there or sick or something, you guys just have somebody else step in, and that's like to no bother to me, correct? Like to the
Yeah,
customer.
no, if you care to know, like it's this person or this person, then like we'll let you know. But no, we have we train a pool of people in your process and then from there like basically we make sure that someone in that pool is will be there in the hours that you were like I need coverage for these hours, so we'll train like more people than necessary, and then that also gives us the ability to when the volume increases then we can bring in two of those
Yeah, you
people.
just already have the people there waiting. So
Yeah, and then like one maybe we can train one more person if really like need be or two more people, but there's always people.
yeah, I mean, I want to talk to you about this because I keep hearing the word nearshoring, and
Mhm.
for my entire like life that I've thought about these things, which is only about 3, 4 years living abroad, I've always heard the term outsourcing, and all of a sudden the word nearshoring is just appearing like rapid fire. And I'm wondering, like, is there just like a stigma to the word outsourcing that people are just like switching to? Like, where did nearshoring come from? What's up with
So,
this?
so nearshoring is when it's like the same time zone
Oh,
as like your headquarters, your office, or like maybe not exactly the same time zone, but
but
like
close.
some like close time zones. Outsourcing is like Philippines, Serbia, like South Africa, which is like
Okay, so nearshoring, we're just using nearshoring
yeah,
just because it makes sense. It's actually a word.
it's like
So,
a fancier
all right.
way of saying.
Yeah, no, I just thought like so to me because there's a lot of stigma with the word like outsourcing and logistics because people have just been doing it so terribly. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
you can look at like those massive operations that are outsourcing and it's just a disaster. Like you talk to like unqualified, untrained people that don't speak English. And so I think outsourcing just got like such a bad reputation. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's linked with like scammers and all this like stuff because people were just doing it bad. Like, I mean, I'm not outsourced. I know a bunch of people outsourcing here. I mean, you guys are doing your operation correctly. Like, I think the word outsourcing just got a bad rap because there's just some bad people in it. But I mean, people are quick to forgive huge brokerages that have some bad apples. So I don't know why we're like so holding on to outsourcing being a dirty word. Like, I mean, one of the head brokerage CEOs said on LinkedIn, like, if you're not outsourcing, if you're not using this tool that's around you, you're gonna fall behind.
Yeah.
And I mean, outsourcing really is like something people need to find out how to take advantage of and to be using it in their organizations, especially like you said, in those lower positions that are just a little redundant and easy to train people for. I mean, you can just cut your costs and, they're low risk positions. It's not like you're not going to go put somebody you've never met on an outsource to run something extremely complicated off the rips.
Exactly. Exactly. And like we also have companies like one of our clients that are outsourcing while they're also nearshoring with us, and it's a really cool way that they're doing that because they're creating like a 24-hour wash through of their days and of constantly, whether it's outsourcing or nearshoring or their labor, it's just like the hour, everybody basically is working on their daytime hours, but this company is getting full coverage, like absolute full coverage. So it's I guess there is some sort of like stigma behind like outsourcing, and like it is a little bit harder because I mean, some of these countries that people are outsourcing from, like Serbia, Philippines, India, like all like they're so far away. They have no idea.
Let's not go over the whole India thing, but I mean, to put it lightly, I made a poll a week or two or three ago, and the poll said which country is more likely to double broker your freight, and the two options were Serbia and India, and India did not win that poll. So just keep it over there.
Oh my god. Yeah, but it's like they're so far away from the United States that like it's like a lot of these companies are like, do they have even like an understanding of like what's going on, especially when like you don't have like a manager there that's like your middle ground. And that's like a really another like cool thing
Yeah,
about Talentek is we have co-management programs that we give you a manager for your employees, whether it's Philippines, South Africa, Colombia, or wherever. There's somebody, and this is like, if you would like this, it's an add-on, but there's somebody that's managing your workers day-to-day like activities. So instead of their manager, if you don't choose this, like asking everybody like, hey, like what are you doing, like are you hitting your KPIs, you're going to have one point of contact at Talentek that would be discussing everything and making sure they're on time, making sure they're doing their work and all that. So it's a very cool thing, and
yeah, I
it's
mean, I think that's such a good idea because we've heard like this story many, many, many times. Where like a company in America wants to go nearshoring, outsourcing, and then they just take one of their employees from the American office, they ship them off to one of these countries, and they're like, "Hey, you're gonna run this office for us, and you're gonna be the manager." And I mean, but then that like you have to sacrifice one of your employees and usually one of your better employees, like best employees,
Mhm.
to go to a different country and to manage everything. And I just feel like this is so much simpler. Be like, hey, Talentek, can you hire me 3 employees, please? And you're
Yeah.
kind of done.
And then on top of that, we're building like a cultural bridge, and a bridge, every sort of bridge, honestly, between your new satellite employees to your company, which is like why I really stress the fact that like we are the most like seamless, established, like we're like a stepping stone of like the most seamless establishment of like your newest satellite office, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I like how you've explained kind of everything. You guys seem like you're definitely doing things correctly because I mean, it's not easy. Like all of those questions you've had answers for like immediately. Like, do you have offices? Yes. Can you have managers? Yes. Like, how are you like? I mean, like, you know what you're talking about. You guys have an answer for everything. And
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
when it comes to outsourcing, like I said, nearshoring, I've been a part of that. I've been one of those employees that had to go build an office. And I've been
Mhm.
one of those employees where like the manager, owner of the company is messaging me like, "Hey, where are all these people? Is everyone on time?" And like I've been in that position
Yeah.
a few times. And like I understand the intricacies of this process of nearshoring and outsourcing. So it's cool to kind of talk to you guys. I always get excited because I'm like, hey, I'm in one of these countries. I'm doing.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank
I
you.
mean, it's different for me because I wasn't born over here, and like
Yeah.
I'm not like a typical outsourced employee because like I'm North American. I was born and raised there, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have that advantage in life. But
Yeah.
no, I appreciate you just like explaining the process you guys kind of go through, and I mean, you guys got like a unique list of countries, like South Africa. I never heard that one
Yeah,
before.
I mean, we found it necessary because of, like that third shift. This was prior to flex, and so just having somebody there for their daytime, but our night shift is.
Yeah, it's actually like such a good idea. Be like, hey, like you guys, it's daytime for you. You want to work a normal shift at normal time? Yeah, sure. Like
Yeah, for them,
it's
not so.
thinking outside of the box for sure. But I mean, you have any closing kind of things about Talentek and Hubtek? I mean, any kind of because I have closing questions I want to get to with you, but they're unrelated to all of
Okay,
this.
all right. Yeah, I mean, basically everything we spoke about, like I think that was like a good way to summarize everything we do at Talentek. Another very cool thing is like we're totally price transparent, which is very necessary, and you get to see exactly what your employee is making. You get to if you want to give your employee a bonus, a commission, like where that's an 100% pass through, we don't hold anything like that. So we just really take care of our like employees, and we really stress like quality of the worker rather than just bodies and pushing bodies through, and not just.
The pricing transparency is like a really hot topic right now. So it's cool that you guys have adapted being transparent with the profit kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's super important because you need to know exactly what we're like, what where your money's going to. If you
Yeah.
just like a lump sum of, hey, you owe this much, it's like, okay, well, what is my
Yeah, yeah, I'm been one of those people that I don't even tip my server like on a credit card or something. Like I always tip my server in cash, even if I pay with a credit card,
yeah.
because I'm one of those people. I'm like, I don't want somebody stealing these tips. I want it to go to the person that served me well. Like, so
Yeah.
I'm pretty old school like that. If I want to tip one of my like near short employees, it's cool that I can see that it like went to them.
Yeah,
It's like a,
absolutely. Like fully goes to them, which is, again, as price transparency is such a hot topic, I feel like people are becoming also like for themselves, like personally, and also for like their companies, and it being like the market it is right now, you need to be more financially there.
we
And
got a comment. What is their margin? I'm assuming he means your guys' margin on this. If you can, we'll skip it.
um I don't know if I can fully disclose.
Yeah, I'll
Like,
just
I don't wanna,
Lev is just one of those guys who wants to stir the pot. Like I actually like know that guy, and he likes to stir stuff. So don't worry about skipping his hot seat question. I'm happy you came on. Like I said, this is super short notice. I mean,
yeah.
I told you literally an hour ago. Hey, like I need somebody to come on. Are you ready? So, well, we won't worry too much about Lev and his insane
No,
questions.
I can tell him that like we do like in our proposals, which Lev, if you'd like to schedule a call, I'm here to discuss. But no, we do have like a fixed cost per employee that goes. What about transparency?
He's you weren't ready for I mean, it's like situational, I would assume. I would assume depending the role you're hiring for, it would be slightly different if I'm not wrong. I wouldn't or you guys do a flat rate for every single transaction period.
It's every single transaction. So we have our flat rate, which is a um, 6.99 rate per employee, and then if they're um, yeah, like it doesn't matter. Like you get to see exactly what your employee gets, basically, and then
Mhm.
so that's kind of like three aspects of the pricing is like their employee salary, our Talentek fee, and then on top of that is like all government mandated taxes and fees, which keeps us regulated in the country that they're working in.
So I'm gonna start this like new segment because I've been editing a lot of stuff, and I usually put like a title like elevator pitch if they give me like a really good like kind of description of what their company does in like 30 seconds. So if I can just tee you off for like an elevator pitch, just so when I come back to edit this, it's just sitting there for me.
Okay.
So I mean, what would be Talentek Hubtek's kind of 30-second, 60-second like
Oh,
run through,
you're
you know?
really putting me on the spot right here. um 30 second, 60-second elevator pitch.
I mean, like, yeah, nearshoring. We're the best at nearshoring. Just like,
We're the best. We're the best. Quality over quantity, price transparency, and like we operate as like we're your friends. We're not here to just again throw bodies at you, and we're your friends. We're your labor consultants.
yeah. I mean, I like the not sort of corporate approach because I feel like a lot of companies are selling, like a really robotic corporate way, and I find myself personally aligning more towards like people that DM me like as people, like you send me a message like you're a human. I was like, oh, like that's definitely a human, like. And I mean, I think when you just go out to like in sales and just DMing people like as robots, and I mean, I don't want to reply to anybody that's just instantly pitch slapping me like I'm not gonna read any of that. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think you need to have kind of like the companies these days to stand out. I mean, you kind of need to have a soul and like some kind of personality as a company because everyone can be corporate. Everyone can speak in corporate speak and use, those abbreviations like KPIs. Like, I
yeah.
don't know. I
But
want to do business with people and
nobody
not.
wants that.
So, I mean, okay, I'm gonna hit you with my closing questions and their new segment on this podcast. So I'll be asking this to everybody, and I started last episode, so you're not the very first person.
Okay,
But
all right.
how often do you think of the Roman Empire?
You know what? Like maybe like once every 2 weeks. And
Okay.
that's pretty impressive because that's like a question that you ask a male because men are like constantly thinking about the Roman Empire. I do think about it like maybe once every 2 weeks. I do.
Yeah, so somebody asked me that, like not me specifically, it was someone I was interviewing, and they said they used to ask like people in the office that question. And for the whole time she was telling me the story of the origin of this question, I couldn't think of like an answer, like never, like not one time. Like,
You never, that's such a lie.
no, yeah, like I've never thought about it, I will never think about it, it doesn't cross my mind. So
Maybe
yeah, that's
not
fine.
like specifically the Roman Empire, but like definitely like gladiator fights, like
Nah, like it just never crossed my mind, never thought about it.
that's super interesting.
But
And I just
this is the best one. This is the best recurring question. It's a segment regarding chicken wings. So, do
okay,
you like flats or drums?
flats
Flats.
all the way, all the way.
Okay. So that's the one wrong answer. Blue cheese or ranch, or do you prefer a different sauce?
No, I'll dip into both. Like I'm
Doesn't
kind of like a weird. Also, like I don't really like the buffalo sauce, barbecue
Like
sauce.
when they ask you, do you want blue cheese or ranch? Do you have an answer? You just don't
Both,
care. Like just bring
both,
you both. Ah, both. Okay.
both, always.
Okay. And lastly, breaded or non-breaded chicken wings?
Non-breaded, fried. And going back to what I was saying before, I really don't like sauce. I like the second like food sauces gets on my hands, I kind of start losing my appetite. So with that being said,
So
I
we're
dry.
going
I'm dry.
flats, we're going flats, blue cheese, and ranch, and non-breaded chicken wings.
Non-breaded and dry rubbed.
Okay, all right. That is one of the most insane answers I've ever heard about chicken wings.
I'm chaotic, Alex.
Yeah, that was literally chaotic answer. Like dry rub chicken wings, no sauce. You should come to Serbia. You would actually love it because they don't know how to make chicken wings like normal, like breaded with sauce on it. They literally just bring you like non-breaded flats with like some pepper on top. Like call it a day. So
It's amazing.
if you're ever out here, just order chicken wings. For you, you will enjoy the thing that I absolutely hate about this country, but you will enjoy the chicken wings.
Okay. Will do. Will
Well,
do.
thank you for joining me on such short notice. I appreciate it, and
See?
have a good rest of your day.
Have a good one. Thanks, Alex.
Bye. That wraps up episode 11 of podcast with Alex Harapi of Talentek by Hubtek. And that is it. I will see you guys in episode 12.